being organized by University Institute of Engineering and Technology, Panjab University, Chandigarh, India. In this era of rapidly changing technology, there is a strong and urgent need of constant updation and synchronization with the latest global technologies and trends. And MAME 2021 is devoted to all the advancements in materials in engineering. It will provide a platform for the amalgamation of the new horizons with the existing technology. We are highly honored to have with us some of the most distinguished and eminent dignitaries with us today. It gives me immense pleasure and delight to welcome you all to this international conference. We have with us our chief guest, respected Professor Gautam Biswas from IIT Kanpur, former director IIT Guwahati. Our chief patron, the Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Professor Rajkumar, Panjab University, Chandigarh. Our patron, the most distinguished Professor J.K. Goswami, Sir Director UIET. Our co-patrons, respected Madam Professor Renu Vij, former Director UIET, and Professor Sanjeev Puri. Our chair for the conference, Professor Sunil Agarwal. Co-chairs for the conference, Dr. Rajesh Kumar and Dr. Gaurav Sapra. Last but not the least, I welcome all the participants, faculty members, and students who have joined us today. Before we proceed further, as a mark of respect and to pay homage, we are now going to have the Panjab University anthem, and I request one and all who have joined us online as well as offline to kindly stand up for the anthem.
सही गलत की समझ बढ़ाता तेरी जय गो शंख बजाए रोशन तारे बन जाए बखरी तेरी शोहरत सदा सदा रहे
Thank you all. Light is considered as a symbol of auspiciousness, prosperity, and abundance. As a tribute to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, we will have our traditional and auspicious lamp lighting. We pray for all humankind, may the truth prevail and the darkness of ignorance be swept away by the dawn of self-realization. I now request all present here on the dais to kindly step forward for the lamp lighting ceremony. Thank you, sir. Continuous efforts, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. And to unlock the potential of this conference and give salutations to this august gathering, I request our Honorable Chair, Professor Sunil Agarwal, sir, to kindly give the welcome address. Please, sir.
Chief Patron Professor Rajkumar, Panjab University, Patron Professor J.K. Goswami, Director, UIET, Co-Patron Professor Renovik and Professor Sanjeev Puri, Chief Guest of the inaugural session Professor Gautam Biswas, J.C. Bose National Fellow and Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Kanpur. Keynote speakers Professor S. Anantha Ramakrishna, CSIR-CSIO and Professor Mohsen Rahmani, School of Science and Technology, Nottingham, Trent University, UK, and the participants from all over the world. It is my great to the inaugural session of the International Conference on Multidisciplinary Aspects of Materials in Engineering, here in Panjab University, Chandigarh, India. Regardless of the distances the pandemic has forced upon us, we are very thankful to the organizing committee, particularly Dr. Rajesh Kumar and Dr. Gaurav Sapra, co-chairs, whose members have been. This conference theme is about materials in engineering. Material scientists emphasize understanding of processing of materials to devise new structure so as to fine-tune their properties and performance as per requirement of the application in hand, or design a new material with intended properties. The understanding of processing, structure, properties relationship is used to propose novel structure for including nanotechnology, biotechnology, biomaterials, metallurgy, etc. In this conference, we have received a number of research papers and selection has been made on the basis of peer review process. The scientific program is going to consist of peer-reviewed paper presentation in parallel technical session. In addition, keynote lectures, presentation by academic and industry professional will be conducted during the conference to facilitate better understanding about technological developments in the related fields. This conference will certainly ignite the mind of the researchers for undertaking collaborative research for upgradation of the technology. I wish all the participants a thriving and great moment at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. It is both my honor and privilege to introduce to you our Chief the never-ending support that paves way for our growth and success. Sir is a distinguished academician, researcher, and educational administrator. He is the former Dean and Head Institute of Management Studies from Banaras Hindu University and has served as an expert member in highly esteemed panels such as AICTE, NAC, and various other government bodies. Recipient of several awards for various achievements throughout. Without much ado, I request you, sir, to kindly bless us with your foremost words.
Thank you, madam. At the outset, Keynote Speaker of the conference, Mr. Ramakrishna ji, Mr. Rahmani ji from the Nottingham Trent University, very good number of the scientists and engineers from the different institutions and organizations, chairpersons from the different departments of UIT, director of UIET, very good number of the participants from different organizations, what we want you I welcome each one of you, particularly the guest and very renowned professors and the eminent scholars pertaining to the particular fields. Yes, I am very happy to see that the UIT is organizing this international conference in a collaborative mode where we will look into the use of materials in engineering. Just when you are talking about the material science, certainly without engineering, it is not a complete mission. From my point of view, in coming years, the use of materials, the application aspect of the materials should be very, very important. Now it is on the part of the academicians, the scholars, particularly the scientists, who has to explore the possibility how they can the different dynamics of the domain of knowledge. Yes, in this domain, the IITs, IISCs, NITs are doing very well. I want to see the linkage of the UIT with these of the body. Certainly, it is sophisticated resources. For that purpose, I want to see the very good contribution, very good joining. Not less, the association of the humanities is again very important, because whatever the product or prototype you are developing, without the help of the humanities, you cannot demonstrate it. Ultimately, your entire task, the task of each and every human being is for the society. We have taken a lot of things for some seconds, that what you are contributing to the society, from which you have taken a lot. As an excellent scientist, I hope that you must society. We are indebted to the nature, to the society. Whatever the position we are holding, certainly it is the entire contribution of the society and the nature. Now the time has come when each and every scientist, engineers, and the medical professor must think for the contribution to give back to the society. We must come out of our self-centeredness. Many times we see we do our researches for the individual purpose. Yes, that is the one part. But on the other part, your first and foremost responsibility is to strengthen, to build up your institution. If your institution will flourish, certainly it will. Times I see that in many domains, the people confine only to their department, their discipline. No, in the new national education policy, it has opened the horizon of each and every domain of knowledge. And engineering, your branch is the first and foremost. As a management graduate and student, I give the first rank. They can hold the entire dynamics of the things from which we start. So let us join the hands, and now this is the time to contribute to the society. Last but not the least, I again want to see any action plan that, with the help of this far excellent scientist and academician, you are going to prepare. This action plan must be for the short term as well as for the long term. We quite often see that the academic gatherings is only for the derivation, and thereafter the proceeding will come out, and the entire things will be academic. After interval of 1 year, you just place a white paper before the academician what these academicians did for the society, for their domain, for the development of the entire country and the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We are extremely thankful to you, sir, for your kind words of wisdom and for gracing this occasion with your kind presence. Thank you once again, sir. Leaders do not create followers, they create more leaders. And to manifest this, we have with us our Honorable Patron, Professor J.K. Goswami, Director, University Institute of Engineering and Technology, Panjab University, Chandigarh. Sir is a professor in physics with his main area of work in experimental nuclear physics and material sciences. Recipient of various awards and fellowships, Sir has always been the epitome of inspiration and guidance to all of us here in UIET. Without much holding back, I now request you, sir, to kindly accord us with your kind words. Please, sir.
Good morning, everybody. At the outset, first I thank all the organizers to have given me the opportunity to be at this point in the conference. We are very happy. Dynamic, the things were certain plans, focus plans, and coherent plans to move on. And certain conferences that were held were the very good substantive evidences of that thing. With this, I welcome all the participants into this conference who have been coming from all the areas. And you know that material science over years, it's not that today, over years has become a mandatory thing for all these sciences to be pursued. Whether they are the medical sciences, they are the physical sciences, or even the common man using. Because choice of material is one thing, and which is becoming a challenge of the day now. You find that power situation day by day globally is going grim, and you have to really find the solution of that hydroelectricity and fossil fuels to be replaced by other alternate sources, and that too with the challenge that they do not dim this the progress rapidity that has already been in view. Then we have other issue which is coming up is the climate change. The climate change has already affected a lot of things, and one of the main thing that is affecting is our own food security. So we have to come up with nano biotechnology or nano agrobiotechnology, where we have to see the yield per plant being increased not only through the quality of the breeds that we sow in, but also through the soil preparation of the soil through different materials. Because you know that with intensive agriculture in the world, a part of the world we live, we have distorted the composition of the soil, and it requires a lot of cure before it really can produce the things or the products which are actually desired. Otherwise, morphologically the products are appear to be same, but biochemically they have already diversified from their actual desired constitution. Then in addition to this, the defense is becoming another thing, and I see a time when you will like to have defense not for lodging the attacks over the or trans-border attacks, rather creating a situation where a deadlock occurs because of a cold war, and now that situation is changing slowly. With that two capitalist and communist blocks are being replaced by some other new kind of blocks. So here you have to really create a deadlock, and you know that human deadlocks can only be created by the conflict of equal power. It's never that a peace will ever prevail in this world. It's only that power balancing has to be there, and cross-border threat has to remain equal, so that such attacks are to be not only to create advanced such options, but also to locate them, redistribute them, and also to plan their mechanism of so in addition, we have many problems, and the environment is look into, and all these things I see that material engineering is coming as a foremost solution. And a time very far away when will become a mandatory subject in all branches in different shape. As Honorable said, that materials involve not only science and engineering but also social sciences, that sensitization is required. Not only the scientific characterization, engineering applications, but also sensitized use of materials and the recycling issues. All those things have also to come up. So aspects are many and challenges are many, and I find that we can keep on speaking over it hours after hours. It's not that we want to write an essay over it, but I would like to see that this conference has many such good papers to come up and many such useful collaborations to come up across the border too, so that the things people living in different environment can ponder over the common human issues, and they can develop a generalized mechanism to handle such situations. So with these words, I extend my thanks and also my best wishes to the conference, and see that this conference becomes a grand success in times to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our co-patron, Professor Renu Vij, former Director UIET and Professor of Electronics and Communication Engineering. With main area of work in artificial intelligence and neural networks, ma'am has rich and vast experience in both academics and administration. Ma'am has always been that guiding light who has always blessed us with open arms. I request you, ma'am, to kindly address this congregation.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Respected Vice has become a very important area across the globe, because we need new materials and better materials if we want to manipulate the properties of these materials and processes also, so that we are able to make products that are cheap, that are light, and that are robust. So researchers are working on different materials, and some of the materials on which the research is going on are ceramics, biomaterials, nanomaterials, polymers, composite materials. and scientists are trying to work on these different materials for different applications. Finally, these materials will be used for different applications by industry in different fields. So it would be great, if researchers could collaborate with industry to find out their needs and accordingly undertake their research in such an important material area. And I also feel that students who are working in this area, they have a great job potential as well as opportunity for an international career are also there, because this is one area which has wide acceptance across the globe. So I'm sure that the deliberations that take place during the next 2 days in this conference will help everyone to enrich their knowledge and to further enhance their research work. Wish you all the best, and I wish the organizing team all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We also have our co-patron, Professor Sanjeev Puri sir, coordinator of Stem Cell and Tissue Engineering, Panjab University. But due to unexpected engagement, sir is unable to join us. We are highly honored and venerated to have with us our chief guest, Professor Gautam Biswas from IIT Kanpur, former director IIT Guwahati and director of CSIR, Central Guwahati and Engineering Research Institute at Durgapur. Sir is the recipient of esteemed J.C. Bose National Fellowship and Humboldt Fellow in Germany and JSPS Invited Fellow in Japan. Also the Fellow of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Professor Biswas is the Fellow of all the 3 major science academies of India, that is Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, the Indian Academy of Sciences, Bengaluru, and the National Academy of Sciences, Allahabad. He is the Editor-in-Chief of Journal of Institution of Engineers, Series C. This journal is also associated with the conference for the public. I request you, sir, to kindly deliver the keynote address. Dr. Biswas. Dear participants, sir will be just joining us in a short while.
No, I have already joined. Am I audible?
Hello, sir. Yes, sir, you are completely audible. Yes, sir. Welcome, sir.
So I'm trying for quite some time. As soon as you left, the podium for me, but somehow I was unable to probably communicate because here the control panel was not showing the proper status. Now I can see it.
Yes, sir.
So good morning to everybody.
Sir, kindly, if you can start the video from your side. We are not able to see you.
Is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
we can see you, sir. Thank you.
So, Professor Rajkumar, Professor Goswami, Professor Agarwal, Professor Puri, Professor Rajesh Kumar, Professor Sapra, all the dignitaries, including my colleague, Professor Anantha Ramakrishna. I extend all of you my greetings and good wishes. This is a very auspicious occasion to be on the podium of a historically very well-known entity of academia. All of you know that the first 5 universities, those were created in India, were Calcutta University, Bombay University, Madras University, Allahabad University, and Panjab University in undivided India at Lahore. Later on, after Panjab University was founded in 1882, and later on after independence, its component, it was divided, and Panjab University, India, came to Chandigarh, and it has great academic legacy. All of us know that combined Punjab University produced 2 Nobel laureates. One is Professor Abdul Salam, who is more recent, and before him it was Professor Hargobind Khurana. So with this, great legacy and great initiatives, including participation in LHC experiments, Punjab University is a great name in academia. So today I was requested by the organizers to deliver a talk on interdisciplinary theme, and perhaps who are associated with engineering research. Whatever little I have done in the areas of fluid mechanics, thermal sciences, perhaps known, but I'll be talking on a relatively new area that I am venturing now, which is primarily linked to biological sciences, and it's called biomicrofluidics. Microfluidics is first emerging area in engineering research, and biomicrofluidics obviously, in the foremost position in this endeavor because of, obvious reasons for advanced healthcare systems and, for intervention of life expectancy and other aspects. So I will switch over to my talk. I have to share the screen. I do not know whether how to really, because I'm not enabled in sharing mode, I can see. Okay, so is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see the shared screen.
Just see, I will also what I'll do. 1 minute. Just yeah. So see, I have seen a lot of interventions during presentation. So probably it is better if I stop my video, because bandwidth problem often occurs. So, if you don't mind, I will I will switch off my video. What is happening? Okay, and
Hello, sir. Sir, can you hear me? Dr. Biswas, sir, can you hear me? Dr. Biswas, hello. Hello, Dr. Biswas, sir, can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Biswas.
see, madam, I am speaking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we were not able to. Yes, sir. Extremely sorry for the disruption, sir.
Are you able to listen? Are you able to hear
Yes,
now?
sir. Yes, sir. We can see you as well as you are audible, completely audible.
See, unfortunately, there has been no telephone number, in the mails that I have received. Otherwise, I could have called.
Yes, sir.
So how to really communicate in such a situation when this link fails? There should be some secondary link, no?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
I was not given any telephone number. You have been, sort of requesting, telling a lot of things. And how do I, reach you? How do I, communicate to you? If at least there should, if there is any secondary source, I can make use of that.
Yes, sir. So I'm once again extremely, I apologize for all the.
No, that doesn't matter, because, let us start the things. If you are, I don't mind for, forget about me, because we have to pay attention to all the viewers. So if I'm audible now, I can, because I probably by this time talk would have been finished anyway. So can I start now?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do, you please kindly, let me know whether you were able to see. That is a prime concern. So I have shared the screen now. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going, this is not full screen. I'm going on full screen mode. Kindly, be online so that at least I can, start, then, we can take it easily. So is the full screen mode visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, the full screen.
Okay. So as I mentioned that my usual work is on fluid mechanics and thermal sciences, heat transfer, but this is one of the new areas that I started when I was director of IIT Guwahati, before coming back to IIT Kanpur, and it is continuing now as one of the areas of interest. And this is, you can see from the title of the talk, that understanding flow dynamics, viability, and metastatic potency of cervical cancer cells using microfluidics. As I mentioned, this is area of biomicrofluidics. And then the second part is deciphering hydrodynamic and drug resistance behavior of metastatic EMT breast cancer cells. So I'll just, since time is short, probably we have lost a lot of time in whatever way, I will briefly introduce the genesis of the problem. So even some 20 years back, people used to think that breast cancer can be remedied by surgery. And once the surgery is successfully done, the patient is out of danger, which was indeed, but later or of late, I would say, it was found that many patients who had full recovery, they started getting affected again. And the major reason is basically metastasis of the cancer cells. So metastasis is a problem of cancer, because the organ which is affected, that treatment is done there, that is often cured, but by that time it spreads to other organs. In the case of breast cancer, why people had this idea that it cannot spread, because in order to spread the the cancer cells reach the lungs, it had to, again, any problem? Any problem? I can listen some.
Omega 6. Please mute the microphone.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought other part. Anyway, so this in the case of breast cancer, for the cancer cells reaching to the lungs, the only way is pulmonary capillaries. And why people had this wrong idea? Because the average diameter of pulmonary capillaries is in the range of 5 to 7 micron. You cannot see with naked eyes, obviously. So average diameter of pulmonary capillaries, as I said, is 5 to 7 micron. And average diameter of these breast cancer cells, there are cell lines. The very well-known cell line is MD-AMB 468 or MD-AMB 231. So average diameter of these breast cancer cells again ranges between 27, 28 micron to 32, 35 micron. So you can say average is 30 micron. Now a 30 micron diameter cancer cell, it is almost impossible to enter into a capillary that has a diameter 5 or 7 micron. It's almost, it has to deform, 4 times. Now that is why people used to think that it is not possible. But it was found later that it is possible, and the metastasis takes place in that form. Now this first part of the investigation shows how the cancer cells, which are larger in diameter, can penetrate the pulmonary capillaries. Now, why I said that this has 2 parts. When we conducted this study, all of you know that in India, the cancer cells are obtainable from NCCS, National Center for Cell Science. We contacted NCCS. At that time, NCCS did not have stock of breast cancer cells, MD-AMB 468 or 231. They had stock of cervical cancer cells, which are called HeLa cells. But this aspect is same for all the cancer cells. So without stopping our effort, we continued first part with the HeLa cells. Now the second salient feature is, as I said, that you can see this is a much magnified picture. This diameter of this part is 7 micron, much magnified, and length is 200 micron, representative of pulmonary capillaries. And this is the entry section, exit section, inlet and outlet port. So these were channels were to be fabricated. It was a very big challenge. For the researchers, I can inform that in India, fabricating such channels is still impossible in commercial parlance and even otherwise. Only place where it can be done is National Center for Nanotechnology or Nanoscience Center of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So my student Vinita Nath, who did the experiment, was in National this Nanoscience Center to fabricate these microchannels. Professor Prosenjit Sen and Professor Rudra Pratap, both of them helped in this fabrication. You can see here SU8 master. This is a silicon wafer. On this, these microchannels are lithographically printed. And then you can see that PDMS with cross-linker, appropriate cross-linkers, those are casted on it. And then these are cured, and all of these small pieces are basically containing microchannel inside. And see, this PDMS, although it's transparent, but for photographic studies, photography related studies, it is not very conducive. You can see in this small piece, this is inlet port, this is outlet port, and connected by microchannel which is invisible. And that microchannel from the other side is covered by a glass slide, and this joining is done in oxygen plasma chamber. So, and then the test piece becomes like this. As you can see, inlet port, outlet port, but the channel cannot be seen. It is 5 micron, here it is 7 micron through naked eyes. So, as I said, that cells which we used for this are called HeLa cells. It is named after Henrietta Lacks, who died of a disease in 1951. And cells were obtained from National Center for Cell Sciences, Pune. And there is a typical cell culture protocol. It was kept in DMEM high glucose containing 10% fetal bovine serum, 1% streptomycin, and humidate air containing 5% carbon dioxide at 37 degrees centigrade. Now, after on the day of the experiment, after removing the culture medium from the dish, the Petri dish, cells were washed with PBS. This is phosphate buffered saline solution to remove the stresses of DMEM medium. And DMEM stands for Dalbecco modified Eagles medium. As I said, the composition of DMEM medium in the last slide. And then again, it was trypsinized because, cell-to-cell adhesion, etc. Those are taken care of by trypsin-ADA. And again, after detachment of the cells, means cells which are in cluster, they are not detached, but which are separate, single cells, those are separated out. And then it was again put in DMEM medium because that substitute the body fluid in experiments. And then it was taken to basically syringe pump for further processing. You can see a microscope, it is fixed with a camera and connection is going to computer for further processing. This is a syringe pump. And you can see typically how individual test channel is kept under the microscope and the camera. See, this is the inlet port, this is the outlet port connected with flexible tubing, and we'll see the movement of cancer cells with between this inlet and outlet port where the microchannel or the channel with 5 micron, here it is 7 micron diameter is located. This is typically a syringe pump filled in and fixed in the, cartridges are fixed in the syringe pump. And then, the experiments are done. I will show you a typical movement of a single HeLa cell. And this is, as I said, that taken in camera and then passed on to the computer for further processing. You can see a single HeLa cell. It is coming, getting stretched and going to the other side. So this is representative of pulmonary capillary. All are magnified. This is 7 micron, and the cell diameter is, cancer cell diameter is close to 28 micron, 27 micron, perhaps I have to check. And you can see that the cell after crossing, it is, although it is stretched, deformed significantly, but then it gets back its shape. Now let us look at triplets. At times, such cancer cells, are found as triplets. So when the triplets move, you can see typically what is happening. The first cell, it is getting back into its shape, but subsequent cells getting fragmented, are broken. And now let us look at the most realistic scenario. That means cluster of cancer cells. So this is a cluster of 21 cells, and you can see when they are passing, the first one is not much deformed, but subsequent cells, you can see their movement has been slow. Movement has been slow now, and the cells, after reaching the other side, they are quite fragmented and broken. See what happens, that while getting deformed, the cell nucleus is at times very, severely pressed. Now, when cell nucleus is pressed very hard or very severely, nucleus dies. So, if the nucleus dies or nucleus is damaged, then that cell is a dead cell. But and that is why people used to think earlier that most of the cells are dead cells after crossing the pulmonary capillary. Now, in this experiment, we tried to find out that, what percentage of population of these such cells are live cells, and, really, what is the cell viability rate. And for that, we did quite a few experiments. The first experiment which I will report is a dual staining. These are all part of flow cytometry test, and this is dual staining with acridine orange and ethidium bromide. These are, as you can see, that this dual staining basically, changes the color of the cell, and we have written also that ethidium bromide stains only the DNA of the dead cells, while acridine orange stains all the cells. The cells are visualized under a fluorescence microscope, and microscope specification has been given. So this is the instantaneous picture. You can see these are all green cells, colors are green, these are all live cells. And this is, in transit, so you cannot see much. This is the channel part. And after reaching the other side, you can see it's a combination of live cells, that means green colored cells, red colored cells, and orange colored cells. As I mentioned to you, that these dead cells, red colored cells, biologically these are called apoptotic cells, and yellow cells or orange cells, these are necrotic cells. These are, in the process of becoming apoptotic cells. So from here, again, we have to use basically very effective cell counting, and then we can find out the cell viability. Also, I'll show you this cell counting results, and typically, these are rather, if I show it graphically, it will be easier to understand the different experimental sets. So here at the entry, first counting was done, and you can see that 95% cells are live cells. Then after, maybe it took half an hour, all the cells to pass through, and when the cells reached the other side, again the live cells were found out. You can see here 48% cells are live cells. And the duration of the experiment was repeated through another set of fresh cells which were not allowed to pass. They were retained in the same position to see their natural death. And you can see 86% cells are live cells. So this way, different cell sampling, different experimental sets were done with the cell clusters, and the viability, cell viability statistics was found out. And after finding out that, we did the second part of the experiment, this experiment with HeLa cells, that we went for trypan blue staining. And for trypan blue staining, it is very important because we can understand that, again, with trypan blue staining, we collect the cells from the, outlet part, and then we again go for cell culture, and these are the results after 12 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours. Basically, these are the light from the reaching the other part. Cells, those who are found live cells, those cells are cultured this way, because among those cells, the cells that start the cancerous activity again or cell division again, they leave a footprint of matrix metallopeptide 2, and this is the mark of matrix metallopeptide. Cells, you can see this is the these are the cells, but these elongated segments, elongated parts or elongated transformations are basically mark of matrix metallopeptide 2. So you can see growth of matrix metallopeptide, which is basically conformation of the cell division or the cancerous activities. So through this test, of course, there were many things in between. I'm not today going into those. This is the entry region, transit region, and exit region of the channel. You have seen that. And then the deformation index, because cells are, entering, if you look at the samples, this will have the range from 17 to 30 micron, and depending on their size, what is the deformation index and the cell transit time, etc., those were calculated. But as I said, that it's not a very elaborate presentation. I am not going into finer detailed aspect of this. Just I am giving you the glimpses of this study, that through this study, this is the basically a summary, pictorial summary, or this pictorial abstract of the entire thing. This is FESCM of the channel, microchannel, which is here you can see 6.18 micron. It is much magnified. You can well understand that micron, which is of the size of the human hair, that is here almost like 1 millimeter. So lot more magnified, and you can see the summary because the we have shown here the dual staining of the cells that are entering, and then at the exit we are collecting the cells and we are trying to find out the live cells, apoptotic cells, dead cells, and necrotic cells which are dying. And then we did this dye exclusion study with trypan blue to see basically the cells that are starting, live cells, after reaching the other side cells, those are live cells, how many of them are starting the cancerous activities again. So this was in the first part. This is a very special observation. I am again not going into that today, because when the cells pass through, we think that it touches both the sides of the channel or the pulmonary capillary. It is not so. There is a gap. This can be seen through microscope, and this also leads to some very interesting studies. Today it is a little out of scope, but today I will just try to give some information or salient features that we found from the second part of our study, where we really experimented with breast cancer cells. These are primarily experiments with, as I said, not HeLa cells, real breast cancer cells, MD, AMD, 468 cell lines. And it is another well-known feature or well-known identification by the cancer biologists that after getting detached from primary tumor cells, the CTCs, when they travel across complex body, organs, basically the cells lose their adhesion, right? And the protein bodies that hold them together, like fibrogen, collagen, etc., get relaxed, and through a process, these cells are primarily epithelial cells, and they lose their cell polarity, cell adhesion, and they become mesenchymal stem cells. And becoming this mesenchymal stem cells is little more dangerous than the usual cancer cells. This is called EMT transition, and you can see through different complex body channels it happens. And in order to mimic that, this complex body channel network, again the basis of selection of such channel, I do not have adequate time today. I will just introduce you that this how this mimic channel network looks like. This is inlet, this is outlet, and you can see there are channels of various sizes: 15 micron, 12 micron, 10 micron, 12 micron, 15 micron, and again this this is 184 micron. Then they are divided again into 35 micron channel. Finally, they pass through 3 7 micron channels and get back to outlet. So this I will show you the real cell movement. These are MD 468 cancer cells. You can see this is like this position when they are trying to pass through. Cells of different sizes, and obviously they are bigger than these channels. They are getting stuck and then squeezing themselves, that means deform, and after deformation they are passing through. And you can see their movement, which is little random in nature. And while moving through, as I said, these cells lose cell-to-cell adhesion, and epithelial cells become the mesenchymal cells. And you can see this is now passing through this part, and slowly it will again enter through these microchannels, 7 micron microchannels, and you can see one after another how they are passing through. And while passing through this, you can see very fast movement because of reduction in area. Obviously, the velocity is very high, and then many of them are severely deformed, and many of them lose their cell polarity. And but the live cells, apoptotic cells, and necrotic cells can be ignored. But live cells that lose their cell polarity get transformed into mesenchymal cells. So that is how epithelial to mesenchymal transition I was talking about is done. So from here, from the outlet, now we can collect the cells, and live cells are expected to be mesenchymal cells, and we can conduct rest of the study from there. Now, this study, another component is that we added basically EGF, which is epithelial growth factor. As the name implies, stimulates the proliferation of many types of epithelial cells, including those that line the duct of the mammary gland. So here, basically, we try to find out from the cells the mesenchymal type of behavior. And of course, these are absolutely untreated. This is 10 nanogram per microliter and kept 28 hours. This is 20 nanogram per microliter EGF was added, and here 40 nanogram per microliter EGF was added. Then another study was done to basically see how the nucleus is behaving. So, how the nucleus is behaving. So, here you can see this is stained by calcin M, and these cells are stained by DAPI. And then their sort of photographs are merged, and from here we can characterize that original epithelial cells, which are much bigger, and after EMT transition, the cell morphology. And again, I would say I would like to be excused because I had an appointment at 11:30. Anyway, I will definitely finish this. I received the call just now. So this is the these are the live cells, and these are the transit areas. And here we are collecting the live EMT cells, and then we go for vimentin and fibronectin, these two, protein biomarkers to see their character. Vimentin is intermediate filament protein, and fibronectin is a high molecular weight glycoprotein for extracellular matrix. And we try to see their response. Finally, what is most important for this talk, here I have seen the procedure of conducting this experiment. As you can see, finally, we treat the cells with the cancer medicine. I would just like to say that original cells that are available at the tumor sites are epithelial cells. And I have already mentioned those are transformed into mesenchymal cells at the outlet. So at the outlet, we get mesenchymal cells. Some of these mesenchymal cells are again recycled through the inlet, and a reverse transition is possible, which is called MET. So this is epithelial to mesenchymal transition, and another set of cells, those become again epithelial cell, mesenchymal to epithelial transformation. And then we apply the cancer medicine. Usual cancer medicine is doxorubicin, but doxorubicin does not, not so effective for breast cancer cells. The most effective medicine for breast cancer cells is paclitaxel. So we treat them with, you can see, initially MDA, MB468 epithelial cells were treated with different concentrations of paclitaxel to study the anti-proliferative properties of PTX. And then we again tested that how many cells are dead cells and how many cells are live cells. You can see that this cancer medicine worked very well for the epithelial cells, which are collected from primary tumor site. And they also, they are effective reasonably well for the reverse transition cells, which have undergone MET transition. But they are not at all effective for those cells which have, underwent the transformation from epithelial to mesenchymal. You can see, hardly, we get the dead cells. Almost all the cells are live cells. So from this study, the very important conclusion that we get is that epithelial to mesenchymal transition is really deadly, and that can be brought about within the complex network of flow passages within the body. And you can see this is a pictorial view. From the primary side, the epithelial cells, they are entering, and finally they are becoming mesenchymal cells. And mesenchymal cells are basically drug resistant cells. So as I said, I'm sorry, for paucity of time I could not explain many results, but probably I have been able to convey the importance of biomicrofluidics, which is a fast emerging area. And as I mentioned to you that I have been throughout my life trained in fluid mechanics, heat transfer, thermal sciences. This is my new endeavor for some interdisciplinary area of biomicrofluidics, which is extremely exciting. It is making a rapid stride and creating a new innovation space for better opportunities for the humankind, especially for the advanced healthcare system. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. If you have questions, I am ready to take few quick questions.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if there are any questions, kindly we can take up one by one. I request to kindly raise your hand if you have any questions, dear participants. Anyhow, thank you, sir. So we are extremely thankful to you for this mind-awakening keynote address. And once again, I apologize on behalf of the entire team for all the disruption and the inconveniences.
Please. No, that's not needed.
Thank you once again, sir. Thank you. And now
My
for
pleasure.
the sorry. And now for the closer.
I said my pleasure.
And now for the closer perspective of the conference, I request all our esteemed present here on the dais to kindly release the proceedings of the conference MAME 2021. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Before the inaugural session comes to an close.
Madam, I can see quite a few hands are raised, but
okay.
I do not know whether you are able to sense, from your side of the screen.
Sir, we will just check up and we'll just take up the questions.
These hands that are being raised are very quickly passing through, through the left side of the screen.
Those are clappings, maybe.
No. This is raising hand. The sign is very clear. Anyway, it's difficult sometimes to identify.
I request all of you to kindly unmute yourself so that if we have any questions, we can take them up. So shall we proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Before the inaugural session comes to a close, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. Rajesh Kumar, co-chair of the ceremony, to propose the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
A very good morning, Biswas, Chief Guest, Patron Professor J.K. Goswami, Co-Patrons Professor Renuvij and Professor Sanjeev Puri, Chair of this conference Professor Sunil Agarwal, Co-Chair Dr. Gaurav Sapra, our organizing team members, delegates from across the world, participants, listeners, my dear colleagues, staff, students, and all present here. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks, and I am really thankful to all of you for making this conference a real success. I take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Professor Gautam Biswas, J.C. Bose Fellow and former Director of IIT Guwahati, his Editor-in-Chief of Journal of the Institution of Engineers, and this conference is also associated with this journal for publication. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invite and taking out time for our event from your busy schedule. Your precious words are very important for us. We are really delighted to have you as our chief guest. I extend my gratitude to our Honorable Chief Patron, Professor Rajkumar, Vice Chancellor of Panjab University, who is always inspiring us and encouraging us to achieve many endeavors. VC sir is always here to support us whenever we need. Thank you so much, sir. I take this opportunity to thank Honorable Professor J.K. Goswami, Director UIET, and patron of this conference. Sir, you are always in support of us, and we are really thankful to you for your guidance towards the success of this conference. I'm grateful to co-patron Professor Renuvij, who has been always motivating us to take this conference to new heights. My sincere thanks to Professor Sanjeev Puri, who is always in support of us. He is always encouraging us and always ready to guide and help us. I am thankful to Professor Sunil Agarwal, chair of this conference, who always motivated us and supported us for the executing various tasks related to this conference. I must mention deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Gaurav Sapra, co-chair of this conference, for his dedication and hard work for the success of this conference. My sincere thanks to all committee members for expediting all the activities for organizing this conference. I must thank to all the reviewers who have taken up their precious time out of their busy schedule in reviewing the papers in the required time and with strict adherence to guidelines to maintain the higher quality level. And the paper acceptance ratio for this conference was around 40%, which is far better than in many other similar conferences. A big thank you to all those who contributed and given their precious time in organizing this conference, especially organizing team, student team, brand promotion committee student team, for helping us to organize this event. I am also thankful to the research scholars who have greatly helped us in organizing this conference. I once again thank everyone whose contribution has been made in this conference for this successful event. Looking forward to very informational and fruitful sessions ahead. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request all of you to kindly stand up and join us for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
I thank and congratulate one and all for being part of this congregation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are running behind the scheduled program, we request you all to join with the same link for the next session, which is the keynote presentation at 11:45 a.m. I request all of you to kindly join with the same link at 11:45 a.m. Thank you. Dr. Harish Kumar Sardana, Chief Scientist, CSIR-CSIO, for this keynote presentation. And I feel extremely delighted to introduce to you Professor Dr. H.K. Sardana. His skills and expertise includes machine learning, neural networks, and artificial intelligence, image processing, pattern recognition. Dr. Sardana have also been designated as Honorary Professor at Bengal Engineering and Science University, Shibpur, Havra. I request you, sir, to kindly please take over.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Professor Anantha is away for another selection meeting. So physically it wasn't possible for him. So I'm representing CSIO. I'll share few slides to hope it is visible. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Completely visible and audible too.
Okay. So so we'll talk about something closest to the theme of this international meet, which is largely on patient-specific implants, which is itself a multidisciplinary area, and that too on customized, personalized healthcare that these implants are aimed for. Where we come from, a very prestigious institution in the country, which is now 80 years old, CSIR, and in fact we started 80th CSIR Foundation Day on 26 September, which is the foundation day for our parent institution. And CSIR laboratories are all over the country, and CSIR holds this imago ranking of, very single digit values that you can see. So that's about our parent institute, and so many institutions of CSIR all over the country, and primarily we work in various disciplines, and of late 2009 onwards we became you can in a way dual role as a professors. As you could see, all scientists became professors as a dual charge. So we formed the ACSR, which is an academic wing of CSIR in a way, and now many other national institutions are also coming under the umbrella of ACSR, and we became reasonably 22nd rank in research institutions. So coming to, this is our laboratory, some of you might have visited, a bit of our structure that really helps how organization structure drives such performance of interdisciplinary nature. As you can see, avionics, imaging and display systems for strategic applications is our one new vertical, as rebranding the organization with biomedical applications, which is our discussion today, remains the CSIO's interest for many years now. And with the changing needs of country towards self-reliance, we formed intelligent machines and communication systems, particularly towards drone-like applications for larger space and time coverages, and manufacturing technology and instrumentation, and some of the glimpses of the work you will see here. And then coupled with material science and sensor applications, bringing intelligence to material levels. And we have a center in Chennai, which is more business towards that region. So they are working on energy management. So you could see the diversity, and now bringing another interdisciplinary sense to the organization is Center of Excellences in Intelligent Sensors and Systems, and Micro and Nano Optics Center, facilities that are coming up, which will provide further, closest to materials will be nano structures, and microstructures, of course, already world is into. So that's the brief about the organization structure, how these structure facilities further now added as facilities. Now we have a lot of facilities, analytical facilities and mechanical design and fabrication facilities and electronic design and fabrication facilities and thin film coatings, coupled with the other usual business and information services. So that's how the organization intends to work and also provide services to the society. Today is not the topic for aviation, but I'm just telling that CSIO is known for its presence in, Tejas, which is light combat aircraft, wherein we provide head-up display of say a month or so, and then re-surgery had been the solutions, and then you imagine how long you keep opening, and re-surgery things could happen to patients. I mean, that's something nowhere possible. Now you can see now how structures drive behavior and how their behavior drives performance, which is a slogan from management, and I'm quoting it here. How these properties you can see now, have been changed by way of structure, and the original structure of materials compared with human body had to be brought closest as far as possible. Now the innovation of this design team, again by Vijabina, has been bringing innovative structures depending upon a particular implant, and different structures, as you can see, provide different properties, and that is their research level before they actually venture into various implants. So that is the innovation and research led by that team. Now again you can see various structures leading to, these are of course the early research on structures leading to properties, and once the team is confident about the properties, then they decide on which implant these will be applicable. No matter the manufacturing might become industrial revolutionized with economies of scale, but I understand from the team's efforts that a continuous research on structures is the key factor, and their experience, and then finally those structures may fit in for one person, or of such similar structures may be tried on variety. So this challenge remains a continuous effort. And then you can see another porous structure for a particular situation of cup, and then there are micro details of these structures are shown on the right, where bone structure and pore structure have been reasonably matched. So so it is like back to nature is what mechanical engineering to material science to biology or human physiology has been the case of their efforts. Now some research indicates how these implants provide growth. So some research gave some indications of rabbits, male and female, and surprisingly or maybe quite expected by some of you that female rabbits had shown more growth. But anyway, the growth in the bone structure itself was the primarily the objective, and such structures also led to bone growth in conjunction with the structure provided by the materials and the implant. So in a way, that shows that how long-term thinking could be decided, say in implant's life, say about a decade or so, or higher than that. That will be a challenge, how long-term sustainability can be achieved for a particular patient based on the structures, and even within the structure we may have porosity or other parameters varied for an individual. So you can imagine how material and structure and the processes of 3D printing can go together and suit a particular individual. So a lot of predictions, a lot of intelligence. In fact, as I mentioned, our Material Processing Research Institute in Bhopal, they are working in material intelligence. So who knows, these materials will move towards material intelligence. No longer machine intelligence will have MI as a term. Material intelligence is the new term already coined by some institutions. So I would see that researchers here can get motivated. Now the whole concept moves from CT scan to 3D reconstruction to implant design to surgery. And surgeries are also not one go. There is, kind of pre-operative surgery because trauma patients typically require an emergency care, and then comes the cosmetic or restoration or patient-specific surgeries using these implants. So normally it does still have two steps. For young patients, typically it requires a pre-surgery just to get the patient out of the emergency situation, make the body, come to functionality or at least to come to a living being, and then comes this restoration kind of patient-specific surgery. So the concepts are visible from here. The bottom line shows how an implant gets fitted. This is again first tested under simulations and then brought, in consultation with the surgeons, then brought into application into real surgery. So again, these are the design drawing, concepts wherein requirements is raised by the doctors. Now they are becoming familiar with these technologies. So they provide a lot of medical inputs. So you can see the clockwise flow chart. Then designing comes to the team, and there is an involvement of the surgeon all over because they know how the surgery will actually be taking place. So the design is all, simulated, predicted, sometimes with mock implants of other materials. So other materials also come into hand because many times the visualizations are sometimes comfortable to people, to doctors on physical terms. So sometimes mock implants are designed, fabricated, and then they understand the surgical planning. So it's a whole cycle finishing of the product. So not just immediately from the 3D machine, there is a lot of finishing requirement, sterilization requirement, packaging requirement. If it is a distance packaging, it is to be ported to thousands of miles away, then the packaging requirements come in. So then comes the implementation and post-surgery monitoring through doctors. So there is a huge cycle just for awareness of people that this is required. So I'm now showing a few cases considered, as I said, this is mucormycosis, again the typical name for black fungus. 2016 there was a patient, and there was a male patient who had some this problem, as I mentioned. So typically now the design is indicated that through the CT scan, the various areas which are affected are visualized and marked, and a space for such a customized implant is created in consultation with doctor how surgery could be done. The bottom blue side, the last right corner, indicates how this simulation indicates even how human, well, people still want to see how they would look like before surgery. That would be another interest in real rendering situations. However, in this case, the functional stability has been the issue so far with our designers and doctors. So to that level of satisfaction, once that is achieved, then comes the surgery. I'm sorry if people get offended by such pictures, but that's the reality the patient had to undergo, and you can see how such a patient had to undergo the surgery and then achieve these implants. And these were the situations. As I mentioned, the pre-operative surgery removes the first level saving the life, and then first level surgery comes first, and then after that you can see the post-operative. First surgery indicates the removal of upper jaw, and then comes the situation when the pre-operative surgery indicates how they look. So some details, as I mentioned, more maybe troublesome to some of our colleagues here, but that's how the patients underwent such surgeries. So the same case, after 6 months, you can see the face, quite restored. Now you can see the eye on the patient's right had this issue, and a lot of other areas had to be, see the criticality of face, which is the outlook. I mean, we all work, see our faces on Facebook, but here is a patient, facing stigma because of functionality, because of the face value, and based on the family's, trauma, and this work got published in 2017. Another case for a trauma patient, well, again, depending upon the time, I may cut short. I'll be quick, and if I believe this videos would be available post session, then people can watch them later on with some more details or contact us. So the same situation for another trauma patient, you can see some marking, but they are visual, probably quite evident. So I may go faster. Again, now on patient's left eye, this surgery indicated a similar kind of implant provided. Lady patient again, now the case is different, no longer trauma, it's a cancer situation, and pre-operative photographs indicated something, you can see marked, and then the implant was designed. So the concept remains more or less symmetry of the human faces, whether it was there in the original case or not, but the designer team follows a symmetry, and in some cases the person may become slightly different than before, but most likely the restoration follows the principle of symmetry of the human face, unless there could be situations people could consider. Designer's challenge could be if they could really truly restore the original kind of faces that persons might have. That could be some challenge for this team here, maybe young generation designers could consider. So you can see another now case for restoration. Again, an implant provided again on the upper area. Another implant, now it's a hip implant. Now another example wherein a conventional cup can be used, but the structure provides the stability. So the problem was shown again earlier with loosening of the conventional implant. So herein shows a kind of layer, or in fact another customized implant with, you can say, even customized structure provides the important layer. So it's a in conjunction with conventional implants, and that shows how it is actually fitted with the patient. This is from Postgraduate Institute of Medical and Education Research in Chandigarh, so PGI, another case. We are proud to show that some situations like this, how a patient can walk with pride, probably something that people may like to know, how such interdisciplinary material science and engineering provides a restoration of functionality, in this case of the gait of the person walking as a normal person, or sometimes maxillofacial in terms of bringing their face closer to the society, removing their stigma. So this is how such research, that the theme of this conference is, can lead to patients with their normal life. So it shows again how the other X-ray details are indicated. Yes. So again some more. Now another case of similar nature for another patient. Similar, so I can go skip, but the concepts remain same. This was another case, shows the design elements, how it is planned, even the fitting. Can you see the screws and other details are included in the design itself, so that how the conventional and also the patient specific designs together will work, and then the planning goes in consultation with doctors. So that concept is probably well understood now. So another case of ocular plaque development at our hospital nearby, opposite to CSIO, and then such needs are also required. Sometimes you need some support. Is that what it is? Vijay? So these are a tumor surgery requires some kind of support. So such development was required for surgical help actually. So in a way, these are common requirements, and generally they have been used as standards. Just for the again for information of people here, that the standard low, medium, high, standard dress sizes like implants are used, but now these are specific to people to suit their surgeries. So surgery could be normal, but these are the additional support requirements by such devices. So this shows the same. So yes, maybe I am at a closer point now, showing that without the cooperation of hospitals, this was not possible. So various private hospitals, even Forbes, became our industrial partner now, and this technology, though it's more like a technology come service together, is already into a transfer phase where they would come forward and be at the front end, so that scaling of such products, customized designed products, need a lot of scaling and porting and providing at different locations, bringing business. But the advantage of this Industrial Revolution 4 and 3D printing is that they can work very well beyond time and space, because they can all be digital. So digital design and fabrication can occur at different locations, surpassing the limits of time and space. So thank you. More or less, I am just trying to close this, showing that lot of facilities here. Of course, yeah, sorry, this is the facility being used for titanium as the core material. Bio grade, materials are the core science behind these engineering of material processing, 3D metal printing. So it's a laser metal printing facility in CSIO. If you feel like visiting at time, so it follows that powder, used for all kind of implants that we discussed. So yes, yeah. So some characterizations required even after post processing. So all these facilities are required to bring it to the shape. Final, as I showed the steps, even after 3D printing, there are some finishing steps. Probably most of the mechanical engineering, faculty experts would know that all these analysis and testing are again the requirement for each such product. And so we look forward to more of collaborations and applications of aerospace, and automotive is another option for industry. And right now we have already put our step into biomedical applications, particularly maxillofacial and orthopedic implants. So other applications remain open for collaborations and participation. So yes, some indicates Vijay Meena here and other doctors who were, some of them present here, but there are many more. So a lot of teamwork goes here, and without teamwork, nothing like interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary products would reach the society. Thank you very much for this patient listen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are extremely thankful to you, sir, for joining us at such a short notice and for this mind-awakening keynote presentation. Thank you once again. Dear participants, if there are any questions, we can take them up one by one.
I am joined by Vijay Meena actually. If there are any questions, in fact, the expert lies with him.
Participants, dear participants, you can raise your hands, please.
In any case, if this lecture is available post this conference, our contacts are available. We are known as a public laboratory, so anybody can reach us for any further queries or collaborations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. For the general information, as sir said, that the presentation and all the material is available online at the CSIO-CSIR site. and on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Professor Mohsen Rahmani from Nottingham, Trent University, UK. And we are very grateful to you, sir, for accepting our request and invitation to be part of this session. Professor Mohsen Rahmani is from School of Science and Technology, Nottingham, Trent University, UK. Sir has obtained his PhD from National University of Singapore, followed by postdoctoral fellowship from Imperial College London. He has recently been awarded the UK Research and Innovation Fellowship. He is the recipient of several prestigious awards and prizes, including the Eureka Prize for Outstanding Early Career Academics, Early Career Medal from the International Union of Pure and Applied Physics, and the Australian Optical Society Jeff Opat Award. He is also an editorial board member of Optoelectronic Advances. And without much ado, I request you, sir, to kindly please take over.
Thank you so much for your invitation, and thank you so much for inviting me. So let me share my screen first. So please let me know if it is visible. So do you see my screen?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Yes, we can clearly visible and audible too.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for your kind invitation. It's very exciting to be a part of this conference, and unfortunately I didn't manage to travel because of all these COVID issues. Hopefully in the following years I will be able to travel and meet you in person. Well, so as it was mentioned, I'm from Nottingham Trent University, and obviously Nottingham Trent University is in Nottingham. If you are not really familiar and very familiar with the geography of the England, so Nottingham is right in the center of the England, and we have this luxury to be able to travel to 85% of cities of the England with less than 1.5 hour driving. I believe that it's very amazing opportunity as compared to India, which is huge. So in the UK, we have this opportunity to travel by car to most of the cities, in particular for us, which are in the center. If it still doesn't ring any bell in your mind, Nottingham is the city of Robin Hood. And I hope that now you can make some connection to Nottingham. Well, let me start my talk with a little bit of background. So this is how people used to look like 700 years before Christ, and this is how people look like today. I believe you agree that the outfit of people has been significantly changed. But if you look at the Nimrud lens, which used to be used in those years, 700 years before Christ, and the lenses, which all of us are using on the back side of our mobile phone today, you realize that we are still using similar technology after so many years for shaping the wavefront of the light. But the good news is that right now we are in the transition period for using other technologies for shaping the wavefront of the light by metasurfaces. Metasurfaces are array of nanoscale structures whose dimensions are less and smaller than the wavelengths of the incoming light. In order to give you that some idea that what kind of other structures we have and what kind of other surfaces we have. So we have diffraction grating, where the dimension of the nanostructures or structures are on the order of the wavelengths, and we have already learned it in the high school that how gratings work. And even when the dimension of the structures are much larger than the wavelengths, we are speaking about the geometrical optics like usual lenses, and of course when we are speaking about the homogeneous surfaces, we are speaking to about some components like mirrors. So when the structures are so small, smaller than the wavelengths of the light, we can do a lot of exciting thing, and we can categorize some metasurfaces to different categories, so-called linear metasurfaces, non-linear metasurfaces, and sensing metasurfaces. And in this talk, I will give some idea about each of them. I don't go into the details. Of course, if you are interested, you can contact me afterwards, and we are open for collaborations. But in this seminar, I'm just going to give you some flavor of each of them and the application that each of them can give to us and how they can change our daily life. When we are speaking about the linear metasurfaces, so do you see my mouse here? Do you see this indication of the mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. So when we are speaking about the linear metasurfaces, so we are speaking, and linear regime, we are speaking about this area when the response of the material depends linearly upon the intensity of the incoming light. So the most obvious nanostructures that can interact with light are metallic nanostructures, so-called plasmonics. When the free electron on the surface of the nanostructures, they get excited by electric field of the light and oscillate with the same frequency and resonant at some certain wavelengths. But those resonances are usually electric resonances, which are involved, which get the electric field of the light involved. Of course, in the last 15, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, there have been so many works, and including our works, to try to come up with some unusual nanostructures so that we could get more resonances, because each resonance has different characteristics, which later I show you how we use them for different application. And as you see, we managed to get some multi-resonances, but some kind of complicated structures, but still mainly we are exciting electric resonances, so which are very limited in terms of the application. So in the last 10 years, dielectric and semiconductor nanostructures have been come to the play because of the very nice characteristic they have. Because of the high refractive index of these materials, they get the magnetic field. They generate the magnetic field inside around the nanostructures, and therefore we get both magnetic and electric resonances. And because of this magnetic flow, you see this both of them. And if you look at one example, that we have a simple disk, simple silicon disk, as you see here in this SEM electron microscopy image, you see a zoo of resonances here, which are magnetic and electric and dipole and high order modes of them. So this is very amazing because each of these resonances have their own characteristics that can be used for different application. So that's it. That is why dielectric and semiconductor have become, nanostructures have become very hot field of research, because people are trying to use them for different application. Most famous application is the metal lenses, when by an array of nanostructures you can reproduce the function of the bulky lenses, as you see here by this example from Federico Capasso and André Faraon. So you have one array of nanostructures, but essentially you can focus the light, as you see here in this image. So it is very amazing, and very soon I can promise you that on the back side of your mobile phone you will not see these lenses anymore, because they will be replaced by metasurfaces. We are also active in this field of research, and here is the metal lens we designed and fabricated. It is for the time that I was at Australian National University a few years ago. So here you see it is an electron microscopy of a human hair, and with the same scale. Here is our metal lens, as you see, the metal lens is 20 times even thinner. The thickness of that is thinner than a human hair, but essentially it can reproduce the function of a bulky lenses. And our application here is mostly for this Fovio device, which is currently a device used to detect the eyes of the drivers, so that to can detect the signs of tiredness of the driver. And in many cars at the moment they are already used. So in this device, which is produced by Seeing Machines, they actually use the actual lenses, the old-fashioned lenses. And what we are doing with them now, we are replacing those old-fashioned lenses with metal lenses. Therefore, the performance of the device will significantly enhance, and the dimension will significantly reduce. You don't need such a big thing. You can have very small device in front of your dashboard, and it is what we can do. So we are in the beginning of this research, and as you see here, it is the image you get with the electron microscopy, and it is the image we got with our lens, which is this one. The quality, of course, is not perfect, but it's good enough to get them excited to work with us to try to enhance the quality and increase it and use it for actual applications. One more exciting thing about metasurfaces that they can be tuned, because for example, when you have a lens or your mirror, a mirror in the macro scale, you cannot get several functions. Each of them have one function, but with nanostructures you can have one component that can give you several functions. For example, one lens with different focal lenses. So that's why it has been very hot field of research that people try to see that how we can tune them. One way is to fabricate these nanostructures on a stretchable substrate. Then when you stretch them, you make the separation further. That's why you can change the optical properties, or by having some liquid crystal on the top of them, make it on and off, and you can tune the optical properties of the device, or using phase change material. I'm not going to the details, but I just want to share with the way we use for tuning the metasurfaces, and we use the heating and temperature, because interestingly, the refractive index of the nanostructures, silicon nanostructures in this case, can be manipulated by temperature. That's why we showed that if using a right design of nanostructures, by just heating and cooling them, you can have a surface that can reflect or transmit the light on demand. As you see here, forward to backward ratio, when it is increases, it means that the surface become transmissive, and when it decreases, it means that the surface becomes reflective. So I have to mention that silicon at this wavelength doesn't absorb light. It means that it either transmits or reflects the light. And as you see here, by the right design, you can have a surface that can be mirror or window at the same time. But the application which we used and were presented, it was image contrast control. And in order to show that, we made a yin-yang nanostructure consisting of two building blocks here, as you see, and these two different nanostructures, they are resonant at very close by wavelengths here. So if you look at one certain wavelength and then hit the structures, one of them become opaque and one of them become transmissive, which is over here, as you see, at different temperatures, because they are different nanostructures. You can have opposite contrast. And here in this video, if it works, okay, great, it works. So you can see here it's the yin-yang structures, and when we slowly increase the temperature, it becomes vice versa. The part which was opaque becomes transmissive, and then again when it cools down, now here is the maximum 125 Celsius, but when we cool it down again, and it goes back to the opposite way, and this part becomes if my mouse doesn't work here, if the left part becomes opaque and the right part becomes transmissive. So it has a huge potential to be used in the displays, and it can revolutionize the display technology and replace the liquid crystal, because it has much more advantages, which I don't go into the details, but I hope that I got you some idea about the advantages of the linear metasurfaces. So the second category is nonlinear metasurfaces. When we are speaking about these areas, when we go beyond the linear regime. In this area, the intensity of the light which is coming from the material doesn't depend linearly anymore on the intensity of the light, and that's why you have much more opportunities. But in order to excite the nonlinear regime and go into the nonlinear regime, we really need high power incoming light, which at the moment today, we can only generate them by high power lasers. In order to give you some idea what I mean with high power, the intensity of the sun on Earth is 10 to the power of 3 volt per meter. But in order to go to the nonlinear regime, we need 10 to the power of 8 volt per meter, which is huge. And today we can only do it by high power lasers. So nonlinear optics already at micro scale it's in our daily life for the lasers we are using, most of them for material interaction and microscopy, spectroscopy, and even in the fiber optics, they are a very essential part, nonlinear optics, and we are using them every day. For example, the internet, we are using it it's via the optical fiber, where the nonlinear optics is very important physics there. And based on the number of the input and output photon and the energy or frequency of them, so we will have so many different nonlinear interactions which are involved in different applications, and I'm not going to do most of them. I just go to second harmonic, speak a little bit about second harmonic and third harmonic generation in the next slide very shortly. But the problem is that all of these nonlinear interactions are already well developed at micro scale, but when we go to nano scale, it is a non-developed area. The reason is that you cannot simply make the crystals and the structures which work at macro scale very well. You cannot reduce their dimension because they don't work at nano scale as they work at macro scale, and their efficiency, the conversion efficiency is very difficult, and there are so many fabrication challenges. That's why people are trying to see that what they can use with the current nanostructures to see that what if they can generate efficient nonlinear signal. One good example is here. This again plasmonic and metallic nanostructures, which was published some years ago. It is not my paper, but it's one of my favorite papers. They show that third harmonic generation, when the material observes the 3 photons with the frequency of omega and it emits 1 photon with the frequency of 3 omega, it's called third harmonic generation. And very interestingly, as you see, they have used and they studied different nanostructures, and very excitingly, they see that the material, the nanostructure, which is this dimer nanorod, which has less material, exhibits much stronger signal that, for example, this dimer, which has 2 nanodiscs, so which is a clear indication showing that, excuse me. Sorry, here is early morning and still I need to have my coffee. Yeah, and then I was mentioning that here they showed that the effect of material is less important than the effect of the resonant nanoparticles, which is completely exciting and new, because at micro scale we don't have this degree of freedom, but at nano scale, by resonant nanostructures, we can even overcome the volume of materials, which is very important factor at macro scale. And we have also been active in this field of research for some years, and as you see here, by trying to understand the effect of the resonances and the coupling between different nanostructures in different geometries here. As you see here, when we change the geometry, we reduce the second harmonic generation, and here just we increase it. So we managed to show that it is very unique degree of freedom which we have at nanoscale. And even in this paper, we showed that by having some hybrid nanostructures, when, for example, in this case, we combined ITO nanodisk with plasmonic dimers, we could enhance the signal for 1 million time, which was very a big record at that time. But the problem of metallic nanostructures is that they absorb significantly the light, and as you see here, they get molten very easily because we use high power lasers, and their directionality is very low. It means that you really cannot emit light in certain and in the wanted and demanded direction. That's why the metallic nanostructures ended up to staying in the laboratories, because they are not good enough, and therefore in the last 4 or 5 years the researchers around the world have been trying to understand and realize better materials for nonlinear nanophotonics. And as you see, there are so many different options: nitrides, 3,5 semiconductors, and silicon, germanium, and phosphates, and a lot of the other material that have been used for nonlinear nanophotonics at nanoscale. And but the final conclusion was that 3,5 semiconductors are the best material, in particular for second harmonic generation, when you have 2 photons with the frequency of omega and 1 photon with the frequency of 2 omega as the output of the material when the material emits the light. But interestingly, it has not been a secret that the 3,5 semiconductors are good materials for generating nonlinear signal. Since 1966, in some theory paper, it has been shown, and interestingly, until 2015, still it remained a theory. And still people by theory showed that, okay, these materials are good for nonlinear nanophotonics, but it didn't come to experiment. And the reason was the experimental challenges in the nanofabrication because of the lattice mismatch. So for people who are familiar with the epitaxy methods for growing of 3,5 semiconductor, they understand that the lattice mismatch is a huge problem. So because of this, it was not possible to generate high quality nanostructures at nanoscale, so that to study their nonlinear interactions. Until in 2016, there have been several groups, including us, coming with different techniques and different solutions for solving this issue. One technique was to have a buffer layer, and they oxidize this layer so that you can make this separation between the nanostructures from the wafer. Here, as you see in this paper with the group of Giuseppe Leo in the Paris University, they did it, and at the same time the group of the Eagle-Brenner in Sandia Lab in Santa Barbara, they also proposed similar thing, but they used different material for the buffer layer. And the group of Stefan Meyer, at that time he was at Imperial College, they just simply got some gallium phosphate films and gallium phosphate wafers, and they etched it down. And the group of Rachel Grange, they got some wires, nanowires of gallium arsenide, and they cut them, so they generate these nanostructures out of them. But the issue of all of these techniques is that so you still have your wafer underneath. You still have your handle wafer which absorbs the light. That's why these nanostructures can only work in the reflection regime and not in the transmission regime. So it was where we stepped in, and in parallel with those studies, we proposed this nanofabrication technique for transferring this gallium arsenide nanoparticles onto a very thin and fragile glass. I don't go into the detail now, but very simply, Just very briefly, we used the aluminum arsenide as the buffer layer, and by HF we removed it, and then we transferred it to the thin glass here. As you see, it ends up that the nanostructures, the gallium arsenide nanostructures, they stay here on some transparent polymer, and the substrate is transparent. Therefore, we managed to get this nonlinear signal in transmission in addition to reflection. And here, as you see, our input wavelength was at 1550 nanometer, and our output at both transmission and reflection was at 775 nanometer. So, and in those days, we got this efficiency, which was a record for 3-4 years, and it was some better numbers last year with some people, some other groups. And but it's the main fact here. It's that it could work in the transmission, and as I mentioned, there have been several other works. It's a very hot field of research, just published in the last few years. But another issue with these nanostructures, gallium arsenide nanostructure in nonlinear, is that they don't emit light in the normal direction. As you see in 3D radiation pattern here, and here is just the front view. You know, in the normal direction, they don't, in both reflection and transmission, they don't emit light. And here is the top view of here, as you see the radiation pattern in the bottom view, and this internal circle is that what we can capture with our microscope, and the external circle is actually the entire signal. And as you see in the middle, we have nothing. We have no signal, and we have no light coming out from the material, which is a problem because it's very difficult to use it when the material goes around and doesn't come normal. So there have been several efforts to solve this issue by using some grating around the nanostructures here, as you see, or by oblique incidence. They managed to get some signal in the normal direction. But what we did here, we just used different material and different crystalline orientation to solve this issue. I don't go into the detail, but I just want very briefly say that the linear scattering, it's for all of these different orientation is the same, but when you change the crystalline orientation, you see that the nonlinear signals are different. And for example, for 111 here, as you see, while the nonlinear signals are the same, but these radiation patterns can be controlled by changing the polarization, which is very interesting. Still here, we don't have right in the center, the signal, but it's still it is already much better than the other 100 nanoparticles. And as you see, we have some signal in the middle, and we completely solved this issue by using and proposing 110 material here. And as you see, we could completely already direct the nonlinear signal toward the normal direction here. It's here, and forward and backward only by changing the polarization, and we can even control the proportion of the light goes forward and backward by changing the polarization. So I spoke a lot about the physics behind the nonlinear metal surfaces and what happens that when the material receive the light in one wavelength and they emit the light in another wavelength. But I want to just say a few words about the applications of this nonlinear nanophotonics. And one good application is the night vision, because around us there are a lot of near infrared lights which our eyes don't see. So if you can have these nanostructures on the surface of your glass, eyeglasses, windows, or car window screens, so essentially they can absorb the light from the near infrared, which are naturally invisible to our eyes, and they convert them to the visible light, so that by just looking through the window we will be able to see the nonlinear, the near infrared light, which is a very exciting application, which is very different from today's technology for night vision, because today's technology essentially works as following. So the near infrared is captured by some camera, and those cameras, they convert the light to electrons, and those electrons are are shown on an screen in front of your eyes. So that's why what you are seeing, it's essentially the image of those near infrared lights, which is shown on an screen in front of your eye. That's why you need all these bulky helmets to do this conversion from the light to electrons. But if we can have our nanostructures that can directly convert the light from near infrared to the visible, so we don't need all those bulky materials, and all we need we need to put them on the surface of the glass, therefore we will be able to see the light. So for that we needed to fabricate these nanostructures in an array fashion, and here, as you see, we managed to do that, and we can show that the simulation and experiments, they are really good. And here are our first proof of concept. Here it's our target sample, which is shined by 1550, which our eye doesn't see. We use the some frequency generation to enhance the conversion efficiency. This omega 2 is the near infrared light, which we don't see. Omega 1 is an extra laser, which we don't see again. And it will be filter out these two, and finally what we see, it's the omega 3 at 544, which we see. It means that essentially by exciting this target at 1550, we can see its image at 544, which is visible to our eye. And this proof of concept shows that these concepts work, and still we need to work on it, and we are at the moment working on that, and it is the research project of my fellowship, which was mentioned in the introduction. So we are working towards this direction, and hopefully we will be able to deliver it soon. And last part of my talk is about the sensing metasurfaces, and then these nanostructures can also be used for sensing applications. So what happens that these nanostructures are very sensitive to the refractive index of the environment, and when they change, the environment is changed by introducing some substances like cells, some materials, some other materials, then the optical properties of these nanostructures change, and by detecting those changes in the optical properties, we can determine the presence or absence or some more information about the behavior of the nanostructures, of the substances added to on the surface of nanostructures. In the previous sections, I spoke about the metallic nanostructures and dielectric nanostructure, and I gave you some idea about advantages, disadvantages of each of them and the applications. But here, for the sensing, the metallic nanostructures are the winner. However, they have only the electric resonances and not much freedom in terms of the resonances. But the point that because of the free electrons on the surface, they have very high field enhancement when two of these nanostructures are very close to each other. And that near field enhancement is very sensitive to the change in the environment, so that it can even detect the existence of alkyl molecules. Here, as you see here, they are really short. They are in 2 to 7 nanometer in length, but still when you introduce them on the surface of your nanostructures, you can detect them, and not even this nanometer scale. Even you can get graphene detected. Graphene is in the angstrom scale. One layer of graphene is 3-4 angstrom, so it is even less than a nanometer. But these near field enhancement are so sensitive that they even can help us to detect one layer of the graphene. And the question is that whether these nanostructures can be used for detection of the gas rather than the liquid material or the solid material. So it is very troublesome. Because the gas, the change in the refractive index which gas introduces is really little. For example, an example here is that the refractive index change between air and ethanol is 10⁻⁴. So that's why here what we came with a solution to merge the plasmonic nanostructures with the with the porous film so that we could enhance the sensing area here. We have these metallic nanostructures on the bottom and a few micron of this semiconductor porous film on the top, so that we significantly enhance the sensing material here. And as you see, the sensing material itself, it doesn't really change the resonance here. As you see, up to 3 micron on the top of the structures, we don't see any change. But as soon as we introduce some gases here, which is ethanol in this case, excuse me, here it's when we have only the gold nanostructures, but here we have this semiconductor porous film on the top. So as you see, it really can help us to detect the existence of the ethanol in the material, and we just use it for other different gases. And as you see, not only this can help us to get to detect the existence of some gases, but it can even help us to detect the concentration of those gases, which is very unique and it's very exciting in terms of the sensing. So what we did next, we made it in the 3D fashion so that we could enhance the sensing volume. So the nanostructures here, rather than being only on the bottom, they are in between this porous film, and we even managed to even further enhance the detection sensitivity. And as you see here, we just managed to detect the change in 10⁻⁸ of the change in the refractive index for detecting different gases. So all of these different sensors can be used for detecting various things in the related to the health of the human bodies. For example, there are so many biomarkers in our breasts that they are very, very low in terms of concentration, and if we really can detect them, we can determine and we can diagnose a lot of diseases. But the issue is that all of these sensors and all of these materials which you use, which are wearable, they need some power, they need some energy to work. And if you want to make a real wearable sensor, so its power is something that you have to handle, and you have to or either use the batteries and you keep changing the batteries, or some other innovative ways. And it is actually what we are doing at the moment in collaboration with the Panjab University, with the group of Professor Sapra, and in collaboration with Gautam, Akshpreet and Ankur from PGIMER. So they are working hard, and they have got very good outcome and results with triboelectric nanogenerators. And what essentially we are going to do together is that we get the power for wearable sensors from these devices, and the wearable sensors coming from us, so we can combine them, and at the end we will be able to have some wearable sensors which do not need a source of power like batteries, and by just body movement we can generate the required power for those detectors. So it means that in midterm we will be able to detect and diagnose a lot of diseases from all the spells from the human bodies, like our sweat, our breath, and our eye droplet and everything. We will be able to, on the spot with these sensors, use them for diagnostic of a lot of diseases at very, very early stages, before they are late and before they are quite developed. So in conclusion, I hope I managed to explain what metasurfaces are. I spoke a little bit about the linear metasurfaces and some application like lenses. I spoke about nonlinear metasurfaces and some application like night vision. And finally I spoke about some sensing metasurfaces and application, and I spoke about some application for gas sensing, which will be essentially help us to detect a lot of biomarkers in the human breast. And I want to emphasize that this is not all. Metasurfaces are building blocks of so many other high techs. for tomorrow, and all of us will hear much more about metasurfaces, because around the world, almost in every university, they are under study now, and every day we hear a new application by metasurfaces. Last but not least, I would like to thank a lot of collaborators who were involved in those results which I already mentioned, and the funding sources from Australia and from UK. And by this acknowledgement, I finish my talk. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm happy to get your questions if there are any.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for... Okay. Yes, please.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I am Dr. Trent, University, Pradesh.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear that.
Dr. Paul, excuse me, Dr. Paul, sir. Sir, actually, we are not very clear with the audio.
Okay. No, ma'am.
It is audible, sir, but there is a lot of disruption. Or can we use the chat room for the question, please?
Some confusion. I want to some answer from sir. If possible, please with him.
Just heard possible. I didn't hear anything else. Sorry.
Okay. Sir, there is a confusion with me that while dealing with
So why not you
nanomaterial.
send me an email? Why not you send me an email, and I'm happy to discuss with you and answer your question. I really cannot hear you. Sorry.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Anybody else with further questions, please?
It's lunchtime, I believe, over there, and just people are looking forward to
We
lunch.
can try one time more. We can try one time more, sir, if possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, we can try once more. Dr. Paul, yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. There is a question that while discussing the conductive property, whenever we are going to nanoscale, micro to nanoscale, the surface to volume ratio decreased, and therefore the conductivity increased. But while discussing with the magnetic property, then during the material going to nanoscale, the phase change from ferromagnetic to paramagnetic, which cause.
You really cannot hear. I really cannot hear the
We are
question, but I understand that there are something about that what happens when we go from micro to nanoscale. So I have to say that there are absolutely different characteristics of material from micro to nanoscale. You know, the physics which is behind the generating the nonlinear signal at micro scale is very different, because at micro scale we are having the large crystals, and we have the signals accumulated in those the long crystals via phase matching. We have to match the phase, and we will have a lot of signals at macro scale. But when you come to the nanoscale, we don't have phase matching anymore, and we should come with some other ways to enhance the signal. And one of the very popular way at the moment to use the resonance and the resonant nanoparticles to enhance the signal. It is something that we don't have at macro scale, but still, you know, it's under development and nanoscale, and people are trying to have to see the effect of different electric resonance, magnetic resonance of the high order mode and dipole modes and so on, to see that which of them can really give us a good nonlinear signal at nanoscale. So it is still an open research field. It's not concluded, and there are so many efforts to generate the nonlinear signal at nanoscale. But I have to emphasize that the physics behind the generating nonlinear signal at nanoscales is different from microscale, and it is the beauty because we are dealing with some unknown world.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We will discuss it later on with you. Thank you very much.
So I heard this sentence very well, but I didn't hear your questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Any further questions, dear participants? You can kindly unmute yourself and put forward the question, if any. All right. Thank you, sir. We are extremely thankful to you for such an interactive, informative, and mind-awakening keynote address. But once again, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have an invited session by the team of Technology Enabling Center, Panjab University, which is headed by Professor Dr. Manu Sharma from Mechanical Engineering Department, UIET, Panjab University. Technology Enabling Center, that is TEC, is a project sponsored by Department of Science and Technology. The objective of TEC is to create an ecosystem for technology development in the universities and provide a platform to network researchers with other institutes, national laboratories, and industry. The focus of TEC is on providing an enabling ecosystem, process, and support system. I request the team of Tech Panjab University to kindly please take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Myself, Gurpreet Singh, and I'm taking the response of Technology Enabling Center. So I'm sharing my slides. Can I share? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Gurpreet. Are there more students with you? No,
ma'am. There are two members. Two managers along with me. So can I share the slides?
Have you logged in with your own name or with the name Tech
I am
team?
logged in with my name, that is on with the name of Dr. Manu Sharma.
Okay.
Can I share?
We are just trying to... you have logged in with the name of Dr. Manu Sharma?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Just 2 seconds.
Can we start?
Yes, Gurpreet, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Myself, Gurpreet Singh, and I am working as a manager in the Technology Enabling Center. We are a member of six members are in Technology Enabling Centers. First one is the coordinator, that is Dr. Manu Sharma, and after that there is a senior manager, that is Ankush Sharma, that is ER engineer Ankush Sharma. After that there are two managers, myself, Gurpreet Singh, and another manager is Dr. Sahil Kapoor. Basically, the Technology Enabling Center is a university project that is sponsored by the Department of Science and Technology. Now, question arises why there is a need of establishing the Technology Enabling Center. The main purpose of Technology Enabling Center is it has been seen that 90% of the technologies that dies at this stage of research and publications. So in order to make it commercialized, so there is a need of establishing a technology enabling center was introduced. And further, the objective of the technology enabling centers is as follows: to create an ecosystem for the development of the technologies in the universities and provide a platform to the network researchers with the institutes, national laboratories, and industries. Now there are the activities which are performed at the Technology Enabling Center. First one is the mining of the technologies. The mining of technologies was done in the two methods. First one is the pull model and another one is the push model. So in the case of pull model, we have to pull the technologies which were developed at the different institutes or universities to the industries. Whereas in the case of the push model, we have to judge the requirement of the MSME industries. And the second one is assessment of the technologies that is required by the Ministry of Small, Medium Scale Enterprises in and around. And further, evaluating the maturity of the identified technologies. And fourth one is to carry out the market studies, that what type of product is required by the industries and in the market, and further to recommend the pilot stage development and co-development of the technologies with established institutes and industries, and further the networking with the various technology development institutes, and again the periodic workshops, and to conduct the periodic workshops and seminar in collaboration with the industries, where the industries can put up their what are the requirements of their requirements, and further their problems can be resolved by the experts of the universities and the institutes. And further, to bring the tech newsletter and bulletins on the quarterly basis. And there are some events. I am showing you some events that were conducted by the Technology Enabling Center in the previous months. This is the event that is with the help of the SICU Ludhiana. In the main objective of this event was to assessment of R&D needs of the industries. That was conducted on the 27th of August 2021. And now we are also conducting another event that is known as the technology showcase to the industries by the academia. In this event, the different researchers and experts of the universities and institutes will represent their different technologies which were developed in-house. Now this is the website. I'm sharing now I'm sending this link to Dr. Sahil Kapoor to tell you the different features of the website, that is Technology Enabling Center. Skip.
This is our website, which is
Now over to Dr. Sahil Kapoor, manager of the Technology Enabling Center, and he will tell you the different features of the Technology Enabling websites. Accordingly, you can.
This is the website which is made by Technology Enabling Center. The purpose of this website is to develop an interface or a platform between the industry and the academia. The website is divided into two main sections. One is the industry section, which is mentioned over here, and one is the academia section, which is mentioned over here. The industry section, in the industry section, there are two modes to upload a problem. First, the industry has to register it, and then they can upload their problem after registering what kind of problem they are facing, and that industry problem is available to the academicians in the industry problem section over here. So currently we are having 32 industrial problems which are either uploaded by the industry or are uploaded by the tech team through their event, which Gautam ji has mentioned already, the SICU event. And these problems are very diverse in nature, which are concerning the mechanical, chemical, automation, different kind of problems are mentioned over here. And in the mechanical problems, interest has been shown by the faculty members of Panjab University as well as the nearby region, IIT Ropar and many other institutes of mechanical engineering department have contacted us. And in the automation section also, the electronic department from Panjab University and many professors from electronic department have started working on those problems. In the chemical section, the water related problems, the chemical section and the chemistry section have professors from both the departments have shown great interest in solving these problems. And still many problems are available for the faculty members who are interested in working these problems, so they can visit the website and analyze the problems and choose accordingly if they are interested in any of the problems. The other section is the academia section. In the academia section, academia people upload their problem, and this academia section is divided into two sections further: the technology transfer section and the expertise section. In the technology transfer section, the academia people upload their technologies, which can be seen through this clicking on the technology transfer section. There are a lot of technologies which are uploaded by the various faculty members from Punjab University or nearby region, and in this section they can upload their technologies through video, through photo, as well as describing a little bit about their technology, and they can also bid for a price that they want to sell their technology for. And the final discussion regarding the technology will be done through offline mode, but this is an interface just to show the industry that what kind of technology is available with the university faculty or the nearby region faculty. So, and the other section is the consultancy section for the academia people. In this consultancy section, the academia people mention about what kind of consultancy they can provide to the industry for their better working and better analyzing of their problem. So the facilities like various testing facilities are also available, fabrication facilities, consultation regarding fabrication in the medical section and other diverse section are available from the academia people. So basically, the whatever academia puts over here in the website is available for industry to observe, and whatever industrial problem put over here by industry or through the tech team are available for academicians to observe and to think that if they want, they can come at a solution phase, or they can think that what kind of solution can be provided. So our purpose through this website is try to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And one of the events told by Dr. Gurpreet that industrial need has been executed by us, and now the other event is from the academia side to show our technologies which are available in the university or nearby region to the industry people. So the next event, which will be organized on 19th October, the poster is already shown by Dr. Gurpreet. It can be seen again. It will be organized on 19th October, and the purpose of this event is to make the technologies available which are at a good TRL level for the industry to buy them or to invest in them or to transfer those technologies to industry. So overall, tech's working procedure is to bridge the gap as on different parameters between industry and academy. Thank you. Any questions regarding?
Hello. Any questions regarding this website?
Any questions, please? Participants can unmute themselves and raise a question regarding the Punjab University team or Technology Enabling Center. Any questions, any queries? Thank you, Gurpreet, for updating us and making us aware with the various activities and projects taken up by the tech team, Punjab University. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
That's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all for being part of this session. And the next session begins at the scheduled time, that is 2:30 p.m. I request all of you to kindly join with the link provided in the schedule at 2:30 p.m.